them several times. I told them, you woke me up at 2 a.m. and then you don't finish until 4 o'clock. I tried to sleep and I could not sleep anymore. And they said, you should have joined us. I'm not invited to your party. And they said, we think Asians, they like to sing a lot, but not in 2 a.m. I told them, not at 2 a.m.
Well, definitely part of
Yeah.
the
Yes, they start partying at 11. The worst thing I could do if I'm really mean. I will call the police and report them because I could smell their weed.
Oh,
They smoke weed. I haven't told it to the landlord yet, but you know, well, if they want to kick me out, tell it to the landlord. It's easy for me to find another place. Most apartments they would love to have me because I'm staying here for a longer period. I'm not just on holiday, like 2 months or 3 months. I stay longer. Most landlords would like that. They have a tenant who will stay for a long time. The mom of my landlord, I like her. She's the house manager before, but she got sick recently. And we're very good friends. She's like 61 years old. A nice woman. She got sick. And her daughter, who is in charge right now, no, but she's married to an Australian, so she travels every now and then. She's also a nice person, very nice person, but she's trying to be patient to everyone. Of course, everyone will be a client, and of course, the other morning, I know the German guy because when he came, he's singing, and his feet on the stairs is so noisy, and he started playing loud music and singing. The girl from Hanoi, Pam, I heard her. She started knocking on the door of the room, okay, of the German. And the German's like, he's not hearing it. But it's loud. Not, Pin, Pin, Pin. It's 4 a.m. 4 a.m. That's what she's saying. And after 5 minutes or so, because the woman would then stop, he opened the door and they said, oh, we now have a participant. She has her video. Yay! Very early. I saw her in the video. Maybe I should show my video. Let's see. Message. Chat with me. Chat with me. She's early. I saw her. She logged in early. I think she's from the Philippines. Probably. Ano, how does she test the video? It's like she said she's having a hard time. Or maybe I could talk to her. She couldn't hear. Yes. I don't know. Marinig. Aha. All the microphone will be muted, right? Okay.
Yes, ready for
Ready for recording? Okay.
recording.
Okay. Aga pa. Or just get my phone. Our video does not have to add to this part. There will be a short conversation between two. Yeah, but I don't know if you read my email. The instructions are here.
Right? Uh,
That's it.
three.
When you sit together with God,
Only the host can save the analyst, right?
can assign a family.
Yeah.
Yes,
Only the host, right?
yes. And I told her that you are a finalist as well as Lisa. And she said, I will assign them when you come. But I checked with her already. I gave her the name. Yeah, Lisa. I don't know. Just a minute here. I will check with the name. Yes. Yes. Uh,
There will be the introduction, we introduce her, and then there will be a short conversation. Because the topic is about this is the person attributes, right? This is the contact, right?
Yeah.
So I will. We are not
Boleh nih.
here. Wait, wait, 1 minute. Let's go over to
Vô cho bao nhiêu người?
X luôn đi. Tôi quên X luôn đi.
Rồi vô thở với bác sĩ con cái rồi.
Không có tận
Đấy.
đấy.
okay. Can you check your email?
Đủ thi chắc giỏi quá chắc có cho lên đường nữa. Được cho nào để meeting hả?
Cho em tin.
Yeah.
Thi chắc đủ giỏi. Rớt mẹ.
Của em 73. 740 535 535
Dân
5 573 573 740 535
Auto extension.
Ồ,
Right. You want to stop them.
rồi.
You're not going to get that we would like to see. This is for actually for the art for things. We have the old participants in the below. We do have one participants. I'm not really sure, but maybe that the woman Marion. Marion.
Người là nào vậy?
Không thấy không? Mình đi qua.
So that they were some are like thinking already. Yeah, he's supposed to sit there with you so that the conversation will be there. He sat here. You know, plan. Yeah.
You miss me.
That's right. So I would like to say good morning to all of you again, and I'm very pleased to welcome you back to the second information sharing section on educational leadership and management. And the second topic that we'll be discussing for the next like an hour or an hour 30 minutes will be about 21st century attributes of educational leaders. And as you know, that CMEO Regional Training Center in Vietnam, in collaboration with CMEO Simulec in Indonesia, jointly offer the online training webinars for participants in Southeast Asia And this series of training will be focusing on a different, yeah, different topics. One we did last week was about the educational leaders and stuff like that, and today we are talking about the attributes of educational leaders. And the moderator, oh, I mean the facilitator of our section today is Dr. Anita. And Dr. Anita received her doctorate degree in educational planning and management at the University of Science and Technology of Southern Philippines. Being in the academe for a number of years as a classroom teacher, associate chairperson, associate professor, assistant to the vice president for academic affairs, dean of faculty and academic affairs, currently the senior educational specialist at Simeo Utrecht in Vietnam. She has become very passionate to give education at utmost attention required in the rapid and dynamic changes in the 21st learning environment in ASEAN and beyond. Her research interest focuses on school leadership and management, curriculum development, lifelong learning, planet learning, and grant writing. So probably I would like to begin a section by asking Dr. Anita about this topic. So I know that this topic is very relevant for school leaders and school managers um, in countries in Southeast Asia. And I would like to begin by asking you, can you tell me what does it mean by attributes in this web beta?
Like, for example, your best attribute will be your willingness to help others, like you're willing to help others doing some tasks. Particularly, willing to help an elderly woman having two heavy baskets to be one side of cross in the street. Or maybe you stop and help a mother who was hurt
Audio?
attribute comes from another.
Is there audio?
Pick up all inside, which is good and very good is attribute is like in the attribute A and the test student in my perspective, attribute is the meaning of the student. Willingness of the school leader to improve quality instruction, to prepare students holistically, and to form students to be Hi. First, thank you, Bao, for the introduction. And welcome to our second webinar session. It's a good question. I'd like to start my presentation by defining what is attribute. I'll be giving you two definitions. One is the general definition,
And the second definition is how I am going to use attributes in my presentation. Attribute is a quality or a characteristic given to a person, a group, or something. Your best attribute might be your willingness to stop and help others, just as when you help an elderly woman who is bringing two heavy baskets loaded with things and trying to cross the street, or a mother lost her son in the mall. Attribute comes from a Latin verb, attribuere, which is made up of prefix ad means to, tribuere means give or assign. As a verb, attribute means to give credit. Like when you attribute A on your desk to students who study hard. In my presentation, attribute is the willingness of the school leaders to improve quality instruction, to prepare the students holistically to face the challenges in the 21st century working environment. In other words, the willingness of the school leaders to prepare and form the students to be nationally and globally competitive. So, we are now going to find out what are these attributes of the 21st century school leaders. Let us watch the video. I'm going to present to you 4 attributes. Leadership for learning, leadership for collaborative culture, leadership for continuous change, and vision-driven leadership. I hope you can pick up 1 or 2 and apply them in your own context. But if you grab the 4, that will be great. Attribute 1, leadership for learning. Leadership, learning, 2 ideas at the heart of education. In a speech prepared for John F. Kennedy to be given on that day in Dallas in 1963, we were to be reminded that leadership and learning are indispensable to each other. Indispensable elements are those elements that are absolutely incapable of being disregarded or removing from each other. This intrinsic relationship between leadership and learning is significantly relevant of today's education, as articulated in the vision, mission, goals of the schools to focus on student learning. Leadership for learning is a fundamental attribute of the school leaders because it is about setting direction, taking responsibility for putting student learning at the center and keeping it there. This becomes increasingly complex in the 21st century setting, calling for innovation, going beyond the heroics of individual leaders, such that leadership for learning needs to recognize that teachers and students as global citizens, welcome innovation, embrace change and challenges, provide and expose teachers and students to authentic real-world learning experiences beyond classrooms, develop learning culture where strengths are allowed to flourish, use e-tools for local and global good. For this, there are 5 principles of leadership for learning. Principle 1. Leadership for learning practice involves maintaining a focus on learning as an activity. This principle believes that learning is an activity, that everyone can perform and can do something and learn from it. That learning relies on the effective interplay of social, emotional and cognitive processes. That the efficacy of learning is highly sensitive to context and in the differing ways in which people learn. Principle 2. Leadership for learning practice involves creating conditions favorable to learning as an activity. This principle believes that culture nurtures the learning of everyone, that everyone has opportunities to reflect on the nature, skills, and the processes of learning, that physical and social spaces stimulate and celebrate learning, that safe and secure environments enable everyone to cope with failure and respond positively to challenges, and that tools and strategies are used to enhance thinking about learning and practice teaching. Principle 3. Leadership for learning practice involves creating a dialogue about leadership for learning. This principle believes that practice is made explicit, discussable, and transferable, that there is active collegial inquiry focusing on the link between leadership and learning, that coherence is achieved through the sharing of values, understandings, and practices, that the link between leadership and learning is a shared concern for everyone, and the different perspectives are explored through networking with researchers and practitioners across national and cultural boundaries. Principle 4. Leadership for learning practice involves the sharing of leadership. This practice believes that the structures support participation in developing a school as a learning community. That shared leadership is symbolized in a day-to-day flow of activities of the school. That everyone is encouraged to take the lead as appropriate to task and context. That the experience and expertise of the staff, students, parents are promoted and drawn upon as resources. That the collaborative effort and patterns of work and activity across boundaries of subject, role, and status are valued. Principle 5. Leadership for learning practice involves shared sense of accountability. This principle believes that a systematic approach to self-evaluation is embedded at classroom, school, and community levels. That there is a focus on evidence with the core values of the school. That a shared approach to internal accountability is a precondition of accountability to external agencies. That national policies are recast in accordance with the school's core values. That the school chooses how to tell its own story, taking account of its political realities. That there is a continuing focus of sustainability, succession, and leaving a legacy. The principles of leadership for learning make us aware that leadership and learning are not separable. That learning is an activity, that creating favorable conditions for learning as an activity, dialogue for leadership and learning, shared leadership, and the shared sense of accountability are essential in leadership for learning. Attribute 2. Leadership for collaborative culture. Leadership for collaborative culture is a process to guide a diverse group of people to find solutions to complex problems that affect them all. It should bring the appropriate people together in constructive ways with good information, creating visions, strategies for addressing the shared concerns of the school. Question: how to build a collaborative culture? To build a collaborative culture, members of the school community share the belief that working collaboratively is the best way to reach the goals of the school. Develop organizational structures that allow teachers to form teams and work together. Agree on norms so teams can work effectively. Define a vision on what students should know and be able to do. Then set goals to achieve the vision. But part of the change process is the challenges, such as teachers are so busy that it is difficult to put immediate concerns on hold to consider a question posed in a study group or to take the time to reach consensus on major instructional decisions. Teaching historically has been characterized by a culture of isolation. This culture of isolation has kept teachers from working together and supporting each other and has made it more difficult to learn from colleagues. As people confront these ingrained challenges and begin to change these beliefs and practices, tensions and disagreements inevitably arise. These challenges must not keep a school from reforming successfully. Instead, a collaborative effort of the school and its staff should find ways that will make changes in practice and culture successful. Student achievement is the top priority for all schools. And student success depends on a sustained effort by interdependent team to achieve the objective. Continuous school improvement refers to the process of implementing a planned strategy and measuring the effectiveness in student outcomes over an extended period of time. The Center for Creative Leadership shares four-phase change process. These are the 4 Ds: discovering, deciding, doing, and discerning. First phase, discovering. While change is a necessity, not all change is a necessity right now. The process of discovering allows you to identify viable opportunities for change. Later, having identified those opportunities, decisions can be made about which ones to pursue. The goal is to identify the most important opportunities. Discovering requires stepping back, calling a time out to do a thorough appraisal of possibilities. I think you're familiar of the SWOT analysis. So you're going to look at the strength, the weakness, opportunities, and threats. So part of that analysis would be the scanning. In the scanning, you can have the internal scanning or external scanning. This is now the collection of valid information about the current state of affairs. When you have all these possibilities and opportunities, then you have a visioning. Visioning is creating a clear picture of the desired future. The second phase is deciding. Deciding actions determine what must change in the organization to implement the vision. This is the time when you're going to diagnose. This is the current state and this is the future state. or the desired state. You're going to look into the gaps. What are the gaps that we will do something to close the gap and to be able to attain that desired state? So that in the decision process, you're going to diagnose and look at the opportunities. And then, while doing it, you're going to focus and prioritize. So if there are like 10 opportunities, the team might single out like 3 opportunities that you feel this would address the most important issues to be able to close the gap and reach the desired state. Once these opportunities are already identified, okay, like 80%, 85%, this would work, or maybe 90%. Then the next thing to do is that they're going to prepare a roadmap or action plan. And here they're going to decide the who, the what, the where, the when, and the how. That is in the decision phase. After that will be the third phase. This is doing. In complex, continuous change, executing or doing is always happening. But helping people understand what to pay attention to and why at any given moment requires constant communication. And in doing phase, communication plays a very, very important role. As school leader, you may assign like regular meeting with the team so that they would be able to express their concerns and issues, their successes and failures in the implementation. Then that could be addressed. So working by teams helps the overall change process be faster and more effective. The fourth phase is discerning. Discerning is aligning and integrating change efforts requires real time. Assessing what is being accomplished compared to what was expected requires reflection. If doing requires constant communication, discerning requires thorough reflection. Finally, the whole point of learning is to adjust actions going forward so that more can be accomplished. Continuous school improvement strategies must undergo regular evaluation and alteration to meet challenges that arise. Continuous school improvement is not a quick fix for immediate results, but a sustained effort by all involved to effect meaningful and lasting change management. To fit into the 21st century and continue to ensure that students become learners who constantly engage in their learning. They must ensure that students are emotionally attached to what they learn, which will turn them to be independent learners. Vision-driven leadership refers to school leaders engage teachers in collaborative conversations about what students need to know and be able to do, as well as what faculty truly value, believe, and are committed to. School leaders and teachers then collaboratively develop a vision and formulate goals and strategies to achieve that vision. They are accountable to their ethical, moral commitment to effectively prepare students for the 21st century. Good organizations convey a strong vision where the organizations will be in the future. As a leader, you have to get your followers to trust you and be sold on your vision. To sell them on your vision, you need to possess energy and display a positive attitude that is contagious. People want a strong vision of where they are going. No one wants to be stuck in a dead-end organization going nowhere, or organization headed in the wrong direction. They want to be involved with a winner. And your followers are the ones who will get you there. You cannot do it alone. Trust me. Thus, vision is the first step in goal setting. When setting goals, keep these points in mind. Goals should be realistic and attainable. They should improve the organization, the morale of the people, monetary, and others. Many people as possible should be involved in the goal-setting process. You will feel a sense of ownership that will drive them to achieve it. A process should be developed to achieve each goal. When the process is in place, together the teams will work on to achieve that vision. The attributes of the 21st century school leaders are very crucial to prepare the students holistically to face the challenge of the 21st century working environment. At this point, allow me to reiterate the attributes of the 21st century school leaders. Leadership for learning, leadership for collaborative culture, leadership for continuous change, and vision-driven leadership. And I would like to close my presentation with a wrap-up and reflective questions. The 21st century school leadership requires leaders to recognize teachers and students as global citizens, welcome innovation, embrace change and challenges. School leaders in the 21st century influence teachers to understand the importance of learning as an activity, the importance of creating a learning environment that is creative, authentic, and relevant to students who function within a globally connected world. That they value the importance of building and sustaining a collaborative culture so continuous change for the improvement of students becomes a practice. And they are visionary and communicate to the staff the vision in the manner that the entire staff would understand exactly what this vision is, how to achieve it, and what's next. I hope you could pick up some interesting points from my presentation that you can take home and apply in your own context. To end our session, I pose reflective questions to ponder upon. I'll start the question. Where? Okay, this time we are going to have our question and answer portion. And I understand that there are already questions posted. The first question is, please give examples of specific dialogues a principal can hold as part of, what is that? I'm sorry. As part of learning and sharing of leadership. Okay. And the one asking this one is from the public school. A very interesting question because you're talking about dialogues. I think I would like to start answering your question by looking at the side of the school principal. I guess the school principal would have an idea, a profile, for example, of the kind of the teachers that he or she has. Like, for example, the principal should already know the talents and skills no, of the faculty so that the principal would be able to identify, the faculty, like what kind of task would be given to this particular faculty based on the talents and the skills the faculty has. And so having that in mind, then, the principal could start a dialogue by having like an one-on-one conversation with the faculty. So trying to understand and trying to know the faculty better. There must be a conversation between the faculty and the teachers, maybe individual teacher. That's one way, of maybe sharing leadership and learning to the faculty. Because in there, the principal would be able to know what are the concerns and issues of the faculty aside really from knowing the talents and skills the faculty have already. But going beyond, there is now what we call interpersonal relationship as well. So this is a dialogue. Now, this is also the time that the principal would be able to listen to the individual teacher of the school that the principal is leading. Again, one-on-one conversation. Another one is a cluster meeting. There's another form of a dialogue when a cluster meeting of the faculty holding a particular subject, for example, like when the teachers holding math, for instance, come together for a meeting, or teachers teaching English and different, program subjects. This is what we call a cluster meeting, and this is now where the teachers are going to maybe share their innovative teaching strategies or their concerns about classroom management or student assessment or anything that goes. Then maybe the principal can come in when necessary to be able to understand and to know the context and the concerns and issues of a particular cluster. And then aside from this one, another dialogue could be in the form of a regular meeting between faculty and the principal. And in here, the principal can maybe make some announcement and some really assignment to different programs. But this is the time also that the principal would be able to understand the whole concerns and issues of the school. However, all these forms of dialogues would be put into a regular meeting. Like if there be a one-on-one conversation between the faculty and the principal, would that be done like maybe once a month? Or maybe twice a month? That would depend on how many teachers the principal has. But I guess it would be good that there is a follow-through along with this so that the bonding, the relationship would be strengthened. So also with the cluster meeting, this must be a regular meeting because this is also the time when teachers in a particular discipline would be able to improve quality of instruction and address maybe some concerns and issues immediately. We don't wait for that, like months pass. These concerns may no longer be addressed. And also the faculty regular meeting with the principal must also be a regular meeting. I don't know in the public school if you are doing more than that, which may be like certain conferences, a special meeting, for example, I guess that's also one form of dialogue. But what I understand in a dialogue is that there must be a mutual understanding between the principal and the faculty and the teachers, so that there is listening that is happening there. And the teachers are encouraged to speak out and to be really of themselves and to be at home with one another and to be confident to talk, professional topics that would improve quality instruction and that would also improve student outcomes. Okay. I hope I have answered your question, but then if there are other things that you would like to ask relative to that question, kindly post it so I can go back to that later. The second question here is, collaborative is a favorite term in research papers, but most of the school leaders prefer to be in control and to be safe. Okay. How can we convince principals to be collaborative and listen to teachers and school staff? A very interesting question. What I have in mind then is that to be able to convince the principal about our efforts of collaboration, I guess that principal is not modeling what is collaboration, I suppose. But here, to do that is when you make an appointment with the principal, could it be the leader of the group or maybe some members of the group, whoever would have the courage to do that. But I guess what you will be doing here is that to prepare the conversation, like for example, you don't just go to the principal and convince the principal that collaboration is good without anything that you bring at hand. Like for example, you have your project or you have your research paper, for instance. You mentioned about research paper here. And then you have the working plan. And then you present to your principal that this is the plan and these are the things that we need. We need collaboration to be able to accomplish this in a certain period of time. We need people and other resources to do this. So that the whole plan must be presented to the principal and see the advantages and the disadvantages of having a collaboration to be able to accomplish the project maybe in a shorter time, and that the result is good. And aside from that, I also presume that there is a good relationship between principal and the teachers, that you can just go to the principal freely and then present yourself. This is what we need. This is our plan. You always present something to the principal so that the principal will be convinced, rather than going to the principal empty-handed, and the principal won't be able to see the whole scenario, the whole thing that you are going to do, and that collaboration is necessary. And I guess once you're ready to do that, and once the thing that you would like to present is clear to the principal, I presume that the principal would agree to you and would listen to you. Okay, so the next question, can you tell us more about how the attributes of leaders affect schools and students' performance? Good question. Yeah, attributes of the leaders really would affect the schools and students' performance. And then you mentioned like how would this affect? You see, the first attribute that I mentioned, which is a fundamental attribute, is leadership for learning. Now, leadership for learning would set the direction of the learning that happens in the school. And that it would further set that this learning should be student learning, and that student learning is the center of all schools, by the way. School exists because the schools would like to transform students to be the kind of students the school would have wanted at the end of the program, at the end of the year. For instance. This school leadership for learning would let the school leader explore the different aspects of the school that would affect student learning. What are these aspects of the school? Of course, firstly, we have the faculty. Are the faculty members equipped enough? Do they have the knowledge and skills necessary in the 21st century to change the students, to transform students to become competitive in the workplace? Another aspect could be, the resources like the equipment, laboratory, library. All these would be explored by the school leaders to affect students' performance. And not only that, the school leaders should also look into the culture of the school. What kind of culture the school has? Is the school having a friendly culture or a caring culture for students? Now, another attribute there is that the second attribute that I mentioned is creating collaborative culture. And this is a very important a very important attribute, because in here the school leader would see to it that all the staff, the entire staff, would be able to join hands and work together to improve quality instruction so that the student outcomes would be accomplished. And the third attribute was that I mentioned, the leadership attribute is the uh, attribute for continuous change, like leadership for continuous change. Again, this would affect much of the student performance, because in here, the school leader is going to look into the gaps, the current state of the school and the future state of the school. So what is the current state of the student learning in this school? Are the students performing well or not? And in here, the school leader would be able to see what are these gaps. What is the weakness of the school? Is it more on instruction, or is it more on the facilities? Why the students are not performing well? And in process then, there must be strategies to improve that and to be able to produce students who are competitive students. And the next attribute is vision-driven leadership. Now, vision-driven leadership requires leaders really to be visionary and to be able to see where the organization or the school will be in the future. In these four attributes that I mentioned, they are actually overlapping. I am not telling that the first attribute comes first or the second would follow. They would be overlapping depending on the needs of the school. But all these attributes would affect the schools and students' performance, because the students' performance would also be grounded but by what kind of schools they are in, the students are studying. Okay, the next question is, do you think that a school leader must have all the mentioned attributes? Definitely, I would say yes. Because these four attributes are actually overlapping and they are interrelated. The first mission of the school leaders is that to lead the school for quality instruction to achieve improved students' outcomes. And then the school leader should build a collaborative culture so that to attain, uh, from not good performing school to a good performing school, there must be a teamwork, and that all faculty or the entire staff would put their energy, to be able to accomplish the goal. And then there is always the continuous change. Change is a never-ending process, and that leaders should know how to handle and manage change, the change that is contributing good performance of the students. And basically, school leaders must be visionary. And the school leaders must have a strong vision and then transmit this vision, radiate this vision to the faculty, to the team, and make this vision clear, communicate this vision, and then do something. Vision is not just an idea. It should be implemented. It should be accomplished. So I believe that these four attributes really would go hand in hand, that school leaders must have all these four attributes to be able to succeed, in the 21st century educational environment. There is one here. I have no idea yet, but you mentioned here about to be an effective school leader. This is from David, like to be what maybe you are trying to ask like what it what it requires to be an effective school leader. Interesting line then, or interesting question, but I guess to be an effective school leader, one very important thing here is that to maintain open communication between the school leader and the staff. Communication is really very, very important. I don't know in your school, for example, whether the school leader would really have time to talk and listen to the faculty. Like, is there a regular time that the school leader would come to your office? That you don't just necessarily come to the principal's office, but that the principal or the school leader would come down and visit your office and talk, have some conversations. So communication is very important. Another important thing to be effective school leader is that you should be competent, know your craft, know what you're doing, know what you're doing. Tell the people there that you know what you're doing by your actions, not by words, but by actions. And then another thing is that once the staff would already know that you are competent, you know what you're doing, you should also have the vision. You know where you are going to, where you are leading your staff. And then from that, get in touch with your staff. Talk to them. Do not set apart yourself from them. Be one with your staff. Let them feel that they are important. Let them feel that you cannot do all these things without them. Let them feel that your success depends on your team. Then there, they would voluntarily come to you and present their talents and skills to be able to accomplish the mission, vision, goal of the school. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Tata Anita, for your very informative sharing with participants. And I would like to conclude saying that all the materials and this PowerPoint have been recorded and will be posted on CMA Retract website. So for later use, if you are interested in revisiting the materials and the PowerPoints, please feel free to go to CMU Retract website and refer to the information on the website for your reference. So thank you so much again for your facilitation, Dr. Anita, and thank you so much for your listening, all participants. It is a great privilege for CMU Retract to host this online training section, and we look forward to offering more training in the future for participants in the region. So once again, thank you so much and hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
They're asking if there is still another, right? Yeah, no problem.